My name is Marceline Booker. I am 57 years old. I grew up on a little street where the maples shade the sidewalks and everyone knows everybody else. I raised one child, a boy named Tavian. He is 34 now. For most of his life he has been my joy and my worry. I worked 2 jobs so he could go to a good school. I married once and it did not last. I saved what I could into a small retirement account and a pension plan that will keep me safe when the checks start coming. I am careful with money. I love my house. I love my garden. I love the sound of rain on the roof when I sit at night and remember the days when Tavian was small and ran barefoot in the yard. I am not an old woman who sits and waits. I drive my car to the grocery store. I go to church on Sundays. I catch the bus sometimes to visit friends at the retirement center down the road. People say I look younger than my age. They still call me Miss Marcy sometimes, like when I taught a summer reading class years ago. But inside I carry a weight. You carry a weight when you raise a child alone. You carry the weight of promises you made secretly to yourself. I promised I would protect him. I promised I would never let him be hungry. I promised I would teach him to be kind. So when someone from across town came to me and said things I did not want to hear, I laughed at first. I did not want to hear it because of the way their voice had a small shake, like they were telling a secret that made them afraid to sleep. The woman was Mrs. Hargrove from the clinic where my sister works. She said Tavian had been seen late some nights around the old Miller place down by the train tracks. She said people were whispering that he was meeting someone there. She said a neighbor thought Tavian was taking boxes from the thrift shop where he works and carrying them to a dark car, and that sometimes strange men waited while he moved the boxes. I said no. I said Tavian would not. People say things out of spite. People confuse names. Tavian has always been steady when I knew him. He calls every Sunday at 4:30. He brings me casserole sometimes and fixes my sink when the pipe clogs. But the seed of worry found a place in me. I started to watch him in a way I had never watched him before. Not with a spyglass or with a phone that tracks him. I watched like a mother watches the child on the porch swing. Careful, quiet, trying not to push him over the edge. I sat in my kitchen some nights after dinner, hands washed, tea in my favorite mug, and I would listen for the sound of his truck. I learned the pattern of his foot on the stairs. I knew when he would come through the back door tired and when he would bring laughter with him. I knew his smell when he walked close to me. One evening it happened. The sky was the color of old pennies. I had been in my garden cutting back beans. The porch light was on because I always leave it on for Tavian. I did not sleep well the night before. I had that small ache in my ribs that comes when you carry a worry for too long. I was inside making tea when I heard his step at exactly 9:41. It was later than he usually comes. I looked out the kitchen window and I saw him move past the old maple tree, carrying a bag that looked heavy. He moved like someone who wants to be seen as quick as possible, not lingering, not waving to me, not stopping to check the mail. I opened the back door and called his name. He did not answer. I called again. No answer. My chest tightened. I picked up my keys and went outside. The night smelled like rain that had not yet fallen. The street was quiet. I followed the tire marks toward the train tracks. Tavian walked faster than usual. He kept looking over his shoulder like someone who wanted to know if someone was watching him. At the old Miller place there are broken windows and an iron gate that no one opens. There is a small shed to the side. Some people say kids go there to drink. Some say other things. I stood behind a greening bush and watched. Tavian met a man. I could not see his face well because the street lamp hummed and made everything look like a painting. The man had a hat pulled low. Tavian seemed nervous. He handed the man the bag. For a second I thought it was food. For another second I thought he was helping the man into his car. The man reached into the bag and took something. I could not tell what it was. Tavian smiled a quick smile that did not reach his eyes. Then they talked in low voices. I strained to hear words, but the wind played with the leaves and the words were swallowed. My heart beat loudly in my ears. My hands felt heavy like wet clothes. I walked closer, keeping the shadows between me and them. The man moved away from Tavian and toward the shed. He opened the small door and went inside. Tavian followed him. They closed the door behind them. I stood there in the cold and felt the floor drop from under my feet. A light clicked on inside the shed. For a moment the window showed a sliver of what was inside. I saw a table and a radio. I saw a box. My mind made shapes out of darkness. I heard a soft laugh. I heard Tavian say something I could not understand. I thought about running to them. I thought about walking away and telling myself that none of it was true. I thought about the promises I had made to protect him. I thought about the long nights and the casseroles and the small fights over money and chores. Then I did something I had never done before. I pulled out my phone and took a photo of the shed door and the two shapes behind the window. It felt like crossing a line, like turning the key on a locked secret. My fingers shook. I took another picture. I did not yet know what I would do with those pictures. I did not yet know if they meant something terrible or something small and fixable. What I did know was that the sound I had heard earlier in the week, that small rumor, had weight now. It pressed against my ribs like someone pressing their palm. I could hear the whisper again in my head, the one that said maybe you should watch him. Maybe you should see who your son has become. I walked back to my car with the images saved and my chest full of questions. I could have driven home, put the kettle on, and pretended that I had imagined it all. I could have called Tavian right then and asked him where he had been. I could have held him close and listened. But there was a bone in me that would not let the story end that way. The part of me that had survived nights when I had no money and days when my heart broke was awake. It told me to wait, to watch, to see one more thing before I spoke. I sat in my car and I looked out at the dark shed. I watched the small square of light. I watched for the shape of Tavian to come out. The radio inside the shed played a song I used to hum to him when he was small. I could not place the lyrics, but my eyes filled with a salt I did not want to taste. Then the light went out. I started the engine and turned the key. My hands were dry now, but my mouth was full of questions. I drove home slowly, the photo sitting in my phone. At the door I stood and listened for Tavian. I listened for any sound in the house. The house was quiet. The kettle was cold. The bed upstairs made a soft sound like a lung that breathes and waits. I set the phone on the kitchen table and I sat down. I opened the photo and looked at it until the image turned into a small island in my mind. I did not sleep that night. I thought of the way a mother can know a child and still not know him at all. I thought of the small choices that add up like coins until one day you have a pocket full of change you cannot spend. At dawn I made coffee and I told myself I would not confront him without proof. I would not accuse him without reason. I would follow him the next time he left and find out what was in those boxes and what was in that bag. I would watch from a distance and I would not make a sound. I would be careful for his sake and for mine. But when I reached for my keys, my phone buzzed. A message lit the screen. It was a video from an unknown number. The thumbnail showed Tavian smiling, but something in the eyes looked strange. I opened the video with hands that felt thin. The first seconds were nothing. Then the picture changed and the camera panned slowly across a room I recognized. It was the lobby of the retirement center where my friend Clara lives. The camera stopped on a face I knew. There was a wet stain on the white shirt. The video ended with Tavian turning the camera to his face and saying something under his breath that I could not hear. My breath stopped. The world closed in like the lid of a book. I had believed the rumor and then I had not. Now I had a picture, a night by the shed, and a short shaky video. My head filled with questions that would not leave me alone. The urge to call him to demand an answer, to say Mama loves you and tell me what is going on, was a fire that needed water. I put the phone down and I unlocked the drawer where I keep my old camera from the days I used to take photographs of weddings. I felt like a detective in a book, a woman who had lived too long to be fooled. I told myself I would watch him with clear eyes. I would not let fear make my heart make mistakes. Then I heard the back door open. Footsteps came up the stairs and stopped right behind me. Who stood there with the slow, familiar rhythm of feet I had listened to for 34 years? Was it Tavian, coming home from the late-night wander? Or was it someone else with a voice that sounded like him but held a secret inside? My hands went cold. I turned slowly. Before we go on, please pause and do the small things that keep this channel alive. If you like this story and want more, please like the video, hit the subscribe button, and turn on notifications so you will not miss the next story. Tell me in the comments where you are watching from so I can see who is with me on this road. I did not speak. My throat felt tight, like someone had pressed a thumb right against my voice. The figure stood in the doorway, tall, familiar, yet somehow wrong in the shadows. When he stepped closer, the porch light caught his face, and my breath returned slowly. It was Tavian. But he looked different. His eyes were too bright, too awake for someone who should have been home asleep. His clothes smelled like the night air mixed with something metallic. He smiled, but there was a pause before the smile reached his cheeks, like he had to remind himself to do it. "Mama, you're up early," he said, rolling his shoulders like nothing in the world was out of place. I forced a smile. Habit. Years of mothering can teach a woman to hide her fear behind a warm look. I picked up the coffee mug to steady my hand. "Couldn't sleep, baby. Just thinking." He nodded and walked past me, his boots tapping on the wood floor. I listened carefully to the rhythm. Every sound mattered now. He poured himself some juice, humming softly. That hum. It was the same tune I heard through that shed window the night before. It hit me so hard that I had to grip the counter. I wanted to ask him about the video, about the bag, about the man at the shed. I wanted to yell his name like I used to when he was little and tried to sneak cookies before dinner. But something in my chest told me to hold my tongue. Not yet. Not until I understood what I was actually dealing with. Tavian leaned on the counter and looked at me with eyes that searched for something. Approval, trust, fear. I could not tell. "Mama, you know I love you," he said quietly. I nodded, though a chill moved across my back. That was the kind of sentence someone says before a confession. Or before a lie. He picked up his keys, kissed my forehead too quickly, and walked toward the door. I followed behind him slowly, watching everything. The hitch in his step. The way he glanced at his phone. The way he held his breath before opening the door, as if checking for someone outside. "Long shift today," he said. "Don't wait up." And then he left. The silence he left behind felt heavier than his presence. I stood in the doorway long after his truck disappeared, thinking about what Mrs. Hargrove told me. Thinking about the shed. Thinking about the unknown number that sent that video. Thinking about how my son I raised with hope now walked around with shadows following him. I couldn't just sit and wonder. Not anymore. I took my camera, slipped it into my tote bag, and locked the door. The morning sun began to spread across the street, brushing the houses in quiet gold. But my mind felt dark, filled with questions I didn't want to be asking. I drove toward his workplace, the small thrift shop near the train station where he'd been for years. Tavian always liked that job. Said it felt peaceful sorting old clothes, fixing things, helping the older folks who came in for cheap furniture. He used to bring home stories about funny customers and dusty books he found. But lately he had stopped sharing. Lately he came home with empty eyes and tired shoulders. When I arrived, the shop wasn't open yet, but I saw the side door cracked open. That door is always locked. Always. I parked behind an old truck so no one would see me clearly. My heart thumped like I was doing something wrong, even though I was a grown woman minding her business for once in her life. But you know how it is when you are a mother. You sniff out danger long before it shows its teeth. Footsteps sounded from inside. A man's voice. Not Tavian's. "Move the boxes to the back. She said she wants them by noon." Another voice responded, low and gruff. "And the payment? In the glove box. She left it there." She. Who was she? I leaned closer, careful not to step on the gravel. My eyes adjusted to the dim hallway inside. I saw two men moving around. Neither was my son. They wore black shirts and old jeans, and they looked like they belonged in a back alley, not a thrift shop. One had tattoos down his neck. The other had a scar above his eyebrow. I swallowed hard and stepped back before they noticed me. Something was wrong. Very wrong. I went around the building toward the loading dock, where they usually placed donated items. Something caught my eye there. A small silver bracelet. Bent. Old. The kind the retirement home residents wore with their ID tags. My breath caught. The retirement center. The video. I picked it up with shaking fingers. The tag had a faded name on it. I knew that name. Clara. My friend. The woman who played cards with me every Thursday. The woman who always told me my son was handsome and polite. The woman who once knit Tavian a hat for Christmas. What was her bracelet doing behind my son's workplace? Fear rushed through me so fast it made my knees weak. I held onto the railing and looked around like the world had suddenly tilted sideways. Was Tavian stealing from the retirement home? No. He would never do that. He loved Clara. Loved those elders. He always said they reminded him of his late grandmother. He visited them often. Brought them cookies. Helped fix the radio. Unless he wasn't helping them. Unless he was helping someone else. Unless he had gotten himself into something deeper than work. My body went cold. I clutched the bracelet and backed away. I had to think. I had to breathe. I had to put this puzzle together before panic swallowed me whole. But before I could move, a truck pulled up behind me. I froze. The tinted window rolled down slowly. Tavian sat inside. He looked at me with an expression I had not seen since he was a teenager caught sneaking out. "Mama, what are you doing here?" His voice was calm, but his eyes were sharp. Watchful. Nervous. I hid the bracelet in my pocket. I forced a smile. Needed to lie just a little. "Oh, I was just around the area," I said softly. "Wanted to see if you needed lunch." He stared at me too long. Too deeply. Then he smiled a small smile that did not match the worry in his eyes. "Mama, get in the car," he said. My breath stopped. "Why?" I whispered. "Because," he said after a long pause, "there's something you need to know. And I don't want you hearing it from the wrong person." My heart pounded so hard I thought the world might hear it. I opened the passenger door and slid in. He locked the doors immediately. The click of those locks sounded louder than thunder. The car moved down the road so quietly that even the engine sounded afraid. My hands rested on my lap, but they kept trembling no matter how tightly I tried to press them together. Tavian stared straight ahead, jaw clenched, eyes locked on the road like he was driving through a storm only he could see. "Mama," he said finally, "I need you to trust me." That sentence alone made my heart jump. A child only says those words when something big, something dangerous, something life-changing is coming. "Baby," I whispered, "I do trust you. But you are scaring me." He swallowed hard. I could see the knot moving in his throat. He looked so much like the little boy he used to be. The one who hid behind me whenever thunder cracked through the sky. Except now, the thunder was inside him. "Mama, they think I'm involved in something. Something that happened at that retirement center." My stomach dropped. My fingers went numb. I forced myself to breathe slow. What happened?" I asked. He looked at me then, really looked, and his voice broke in a way I had not heard since his father left. "Someone got hurt, Mama. And they think I did it." My heartbeat slammed against my chest. I thought of Clara. Her bracelet in my pocket felt like a stone dragging me underwater. "Is she okay?" I whispered, even though I was terrified to hear the answer. Tavian didn't answer right away. He ran a hand over his face and let out a slow, shaking breath. "Mama. Clara disappeared 2 nights ago." I gasped so loudly the sound almost didn't feel like it came from me. My vision blurred. I pressed my fingers to my lips. No, no, that can't be right. She was fine last week. We had coffee. We talked about the rain. He nodded slowly. They said she walked out the front door around 8:30. Security cameras caught her leaving, but not coming back. They have been searching everywhere. My hands shook harder. And why do they think you're part of it? Tavian gripped the steering wheel so tight his knuckles turned white. Because I was seen talking to her earlier that day. Because the staff knows I sometimes bring things to the residents. Because someone told them I was near the building after hours last week. He turned onto a quiet neighborhood road, the kind where dogwood trees make tunnels of shade and the air smells like someone's backyard grill. But Mama, I didn't do anything. I never hurt that woman. Ever. His voice cracked again. I know you didn't, I whispered, touching his arm. I know my son. He closed his eyes for a second, like my words gave him a breath of strength he desperately needed. But then he said something that took that breath right back out of me. There's more to it, Mama. Something you need to know before things get worse. I waited. He slowed the car in front of a cul-de-sac and parked at the very end where no houses stood, just an empty grassy lot and an old fence half falling backward. Then he turned toward me. Mama, I didn't tell you this before, but someone has been sending me messages. Threats. 4 weeks. A cold shiver crawled up my back. Threats. Why didn't you say something? Because I didn't want to scare you. And because at first, I thought it was just some kids messing around. But then, they got personal. He pulled out his phone and handed it to me. His hands shook. I opened the messages. My blood ran cold. Leave the retirement center job or you're next. We know what you did. You think she's safe? Keep watching. And the last message sent at 2:17 a.m. You won't survive the truth. My heart pounded so hard it hurt. Tavian, baby. Why would someone send you this? He pressed his lips together, fighting the emotion building in his voice. Because I know something, Mama. Something about the people who manage that place. Something they don't want coming out. And I think I think she found out too. The world tilted. I tightened my grip on his phone. No what? What are they hiding? He swallowed again, staring at the windshield. The retirement center isn't as clean as they pretend, Mama. Some of the nurses, some of the managers, they've been taking things from the residents. Jewelry, prescription meds, money, even small things like blankets and radios. Selling them, pawning them. I saw it by accident one night when I was fixing their loading dock door. I stared at him, stunned. And Clara, she knew? Tavian nodded. She told me she saw something too. But she didn't say what. She just said she was scared. She asked me to stop by later. And then, she disappeared. My chest ached so painfully I had to press my hand against it. So these people think you and Clara were working together? Trying to expose them? He nodded again, eyes full of worry. And that bag you were carrying? That shed? Those men. When I asked that, he flinched. Mama, I can explain that. But it's not what you think. I looked straight at him. Then tell me. Before he could answer, his phone lit up again. Unknown number. A text message popped up on the screen. Your mama should stop asking questions. She's standing too close to the fire. Tavian's breath hitched. I felt the blood drain from my face. Baby, they know we're together, I whispered. He put the car in drive so fast the tires squealed. Mama, we need to go. Now. Go where? Someplace safe. I need to show you something. Something I should have shown you weeks ago. The car shot forward, speeding down the street. My heart knocked violently inside me as the houses blurred by. He gripped the steering wheel, eyes sharp, voice tense. What I'm going to show you. It's about Clara. And it's about why they won't leave us alone. I looked at him with rising dread. What do you mean? His jaw tightened. Because Clara left me something. The night before she disappeared. My breath caught. What did she leave you? He swallowed hard. Proof. He stepped on the gas, and the car surged forward, leaving the quiet neighborhood behind us. The road stretched out in a long flat line ahead of us, the kind that makes a person feel like they're leaving their whole life behind. Tavian's hands stayed tight on the wheel, knuckles pale, eyes darting to the mirrors every few seconds. I could feel the tension inside him, heavy as storm clouds before lightning strikes. Baby, where are we going? I asked. Someplace quiet, he whispered. No cameras. No people. No questions. His voice had that edge in it again, the kind that sits between fear and determination. The kind that says someone has pushed you too far. The wind pushed through the cracked window, carrying the smell of pine and dirt as we left the neighborhood and moved onto the old back road that led toward the abandoned farms behind our town. I knew this road well. My father used to drive it when I was a child. But today, the trees looked taller. The shadows looked deeper. The silence felt like somebody holding their breath. Mama, Tavian said softly, I need you to promise me something before I show you anything. My heart picked up speed. Promise what? Promise me you won't tell anyone. Not even the police. Not yet. I stared at him. The police are looking for Clara, baby. They need to know. Not all of them can be trusted, Mama. That sentence made my skin prickle. He slowed down as we approached an old barn. The boards were faded, the roof rusted, but the barn still stood like a stubborn old man refusing to fall. He pulled the car around the side where no one would see us from the road. My hands were sweaty now, even though the morning air was cool. He turned off the engine. Look inside the glove box, he said. I hesitated. Then I reached over and opened it. Inside was a small brown envelope. Thin. Sealed. My heart beat loudly as I held it. Clara gave that to me the day before she went missing, Tavian whispered. She said if anything happened to her, I was supposed to open it. But I didn't. Mama, I was scared. I thought maybe she was overreacting. I didn't think anything could actually happen to her. His voice cracked again. He looked down at his hands like he hated himself for not opening it sooner. Baby. You didn't know, I whispered. He nodded slowly, but his eyes stayed full of guilt. Open it, Mama. Please. I tore the top carefully and slid out a single folded sheet of paper. My breath caught the moment I saw the handwriting. It was shaky. Rushed. Like someone writing while looking over their shoulder. I unfolded it. The letter wasn't long. If you are reading this, it means I'm gone or in danger. The retirement center is stealing from the residents. Not small things. Big things. Insurance money. Medical supplies. ID cards. Social security checks. They move everything at night. I saw them one time. They saw me too. And now I'm scared. If something happens to me, look at the storage unit under the name Riverbend Lot 14. Don't go alone. My fingers trembled so hard I almost dropped the letter. Insurance money. Social security checks. ID cards. This wasn't small theft. This wasn't petty crime. This was organized. Planned. Dangerous. And Clara knew. I closed my eyes for a moment, holding back tears. Oh Clara, why didn't you tell me? Mama. Tavian asked, voice tight. What does it say? I handed him the letter, watching his eyes move across the words. When he finished, he leaned back in his seat like someone had punched the breath out of him. I should have opened it, Mama, he whispered. This could have helped her. Baby, no, I said, taking his hand. You didn't know she was in danger. You thought she was scared. Not hunted. He didn't answer. He just looked toward the barn, jaw clenched again. Mama, there's something else. Look behind your seat. I twisted and reached backward, touching a small box tucked under the seat. Wooden. Old. I pulled it out. It felt heavier than it looked. Clara gave me that too, Tavian said. She said it belonged to someone at the center. Someone who died. Someone who asked her to keep it safe. My heart sped up again. Whose box is this? He stared at me with eyes that looked like a truth he didn't want to say. Mama, it belonged to Mr. Rowan. I gasped. Mr. Rowan. A quiet old man who told stories about the army. A man everyone loved. A man who died suddenly last month. Too suddenly. But why would Clara have his box? I whispered. Open it, Mama. My fingers worked slowly at the latch. When it clicked open, I felt a chill sweep through me. Inside was a stack of documents. Old papers. Bank statements. A small notebook with messy handwriting. And right at the top, a photo. My breath stopped. It was of the retirement center's director, Mr. Halford, shaking hands with a man I recognized from the thrift shop loading area. One of the men from yesterday. My stomach twisted. Tavian, baby, how long have you known something was wrong? He looked away. Too long, Mama. And I tried to ignore it. I didn't want to lose my job. I didn't want trouble. But when Clara told me she was scared, I knew I had to do something. I just didn't know it was this big. Before I could answer, his head snapped up. Mama, someone's coming. My heart jumped. I turned toward the road. A dark SUV slowed near the barn entrance. Tinted windows. No plates on the front. Tavian grabbed my hand. Stay low. Don't move. The SUV rolled forward slowly, like it was searching. Like it knew someone was here. My breath came too fast. My palms went slick. We ducked behind the car seats as quietly as possible. The SUV stopped. Engine humming. Deep. Slow. Then a door opened. Footsteps. Heavy. Measured. Not in a hurry. Tavian squeezed my hand. Mama, they're not here for the farm. They're here for the box. The footsteps came closer. Gravel crunching under boots. Closer. Closer. My heart hammered so loudly I was afraid the person outside could hear it. Then the footsteps stopped right outside my window. A shadow fell across the glass. And a voice I recognized from the shed spoke low, dark, and cold. I know you're here. And you have something that doesn't belong to you. My breath caught. Tavian held me tighter. The man reached for my door handle. The door handle lifted just an inch, but it was enough to make every muscle in my body freeze. For a moment, the whole world felt silent. The birds stopped. The wind stopped. Even my breath got trapped somewhere deep in my chest. Tavian leaned across me, his hand pressed against my arm, whispering so quietly I almost didn't hear it. Mama, stay down. Don't move. His voice shook, but it still carried that strength he tried to hold on to. The strength he used to have when he stood up to bullies in middle school. The strength he used when he comforted me after I lost my job years ago. The man outside pushed the door handle again. This time harder. Testing it. Feeling the weight behind it. Locked. Tavian mouthed. Thank God. The man stepped back. I watched his shadow shift, long and slow, sliding across the car window like a warning. Another voice joined him. Low. Rough. Familiar. She said they might come here. She. My mind raced. Who was she? The same woman they mentioned at the thrift shop? The woman leaving payments in glove boxes? The woman behind all this? Clara mentioned a she in her letter. Fear twisted in my stomach. Then the first man spoke again. Search the barn. If the boy's here, he won't run far. Tavian's hand tightened around mine. His eyes locked on mine, full of panic and something else. Guilt. Mama. I'm sorry, he mouthed. Sorry for what? I wanted to ask. Sorry for bringing me here? Sorry he'd been dragged into this mess. Sorry he let it get this far. But there wasn't time. I heard the SUV door open again, and another pair of footsteps hit the ground. Heavy. Calculated. Not wandering. Not guessing. Hunting. 2 men. Maybe more inside the SUV. Tavian leaned over and whispered into my ear. We have to move now. Quiet. Out the other side. I nodded, though fear made my legs stiff. He unlocked his door just enough for the faintest click. He paused, listening. The men's footsteps moved toward the barn, boots crushing gravel. Go, Tavian mouthed. We opened the door slowly, quietly, slipping out like shadows trying not to disturb the morning air. The grass brushed against my ankles as we crouched low and moved behind the barn. My breath came shallow. Tavian kept glancing back, his shoulders tense, his jaw clenched. From inside the barn wood creaked. No doubt the men were searching. Tavian grabbed my arm gently. Mama, we need to get into the woods. There's a path behind the barn. It leads to the old creek trail. The woods looked deep and dark, the kind of place people got lost in. But staying here meant being found. We hurried toward the trees, stepping carefully over roots and fallen branches. The world around us smelled of pine needles and damp earth. Birds fluttered above us, scattering like they sensed danger too. When we reached the tree line, Tavian pulled me behind a thick trunk and took out his phone. What are you doing? I whispered sharply. I have to warn someone. Who? A friend. Someone who might be able to help. He typed fast, his thumb trembling. But before he could send the message, his phone vibrated in his hand. Unknown number. Another message. You run, we follow. You hide, we find. Bring us the box. My skin crawled. Tavian stared at the message with wide eyes. Mama, they know exactly where we are. We heard a truck engine start. Then another. Dogs barking in the distance. Tavian grabbed my hand. Come on. Move. We ran deeper into the woods. My legs burned, my breath came ragged, but fear pushed me forward. When the ground dipped, Tavian steadied me, his arm around my waist. For a moment I remembered him as a little boy running ahead of me at the park, laughing, fearless. Now he was running for his life. And I was running for mine. We moved uphill through thick brush until we reached a narrow cliff edge. Below us was the old creek bed, dry now, but rocky and steep. Mama, we have to jump down. Baby, I'm too old to. I'll catch you. I promise. He jumped first, landing hard but steady. He held his arms up for me. My heartbeat pounded so loud I couldn't think. But staying up there meant facing those men. I closed my eyes and jumped. My feet slipped on the rocks. Pain shot up my ankle. Tavian caught me, pulling me upright. You okay? I nodded, even though my ankle throbbed. Voices echoed through the woods behind us. Spread out. They couldn't have gone far. Tavian lifted my arm around his shoulders. Mama, listen to me carefully. There's a place I can take you. A safe place. But we have to move before they reach the creek. Baby, what do they want with that box? What's inside that scares them so much? He hesitated, a long, heavy hesitation. Then he said something that made my stomach twist with dread. Because that box doesn't just have proof of what they did. It has proof of who helped them. My breath caught. Someone powerful, Mama. Someone who can cover tracks, erase records, make people disappear. Someone who doesn't want the truth coming out. My heart pounded harder. Who? I whispered. Who is it? Tavian swallowed, eyes filled with fear. Mama, it's someone on the board of the retirement center. A long silence fell between us. And then he spoke again. And that person is the same one who's been paying those men. Before I could respond, a voice called out from above the cliff. Found tracks. Fresh ones. Heading toward the creek. Tavian's grip tightened around me. Come on, Mama. We're almost there. Almost where? He pointed ahead. A small cabin, tucked deep in the trees, hidden by vines and brush. Whose cabin is that? I whispered. A friend's. Someone who owes me a favor. Before we reached it, something shiny caught my eye on the ground. A metal object half buried in leaves. When I bent to pick it up, I felt my heartbeat vanish for a second. A pendant. Gold. With the retirement center logo on it. Tavian's face went pale. Mama, that's not supposed to be here. We both turned slowly, hearing footsteps behind us. Soft. Close. Too close. Then a voice spoke from the shadows. You should have left well enough alone, Marceline. I froze. Because I knew that voice. It didn't belong to a stranger. It belonged to someone I trusted. The voice sliced through the trees like a cold blade. Slow. Calm. Too familiar. My heart thudded against my ribs as I turned, praying I was wrong. But I wasn't. There, stepping out from behind the thick pines, was Lorna Whitfield. Lorna. A woman I had known for more than 20 years. A woman who sat 3 pews behind me in church. A woman who used to bring sweet potato pies to neighborhood gatherings. A woman who once cried on my shoulder when her husband passed. And the same woman who had recently joined the retirement center's board. My breath left my body. Lorna, what are you doing out here? I whispered, though a part of me already knew the answer. She smiled. Not the warm smile she used to have. This one was tight, thin, cold around the edges. I could ask you the same thing, Marceline, she said. You're far from home. And you took something that doesn't belong to you. Tavian stepped slightly in front of me, his arm out like a shield. Stay back, he warned. Lorna raised an eyebrow, amused. Always the protective son. Just like your father. Tavian stiffened. I felt his breath hitch. Don't talk about him, Tavian snapped. I grabbed his arm, shaking my head slightly. We didn't have time for that. Lorna stepped closer, her boots silent on the soft forest floor. She looked nothing like the sweet church elder everyone trusted. Her hair pulled back tight. Her coat expensive. Her eyes cold and sharp enough to cut. You two should have walked away, she said quietly. You really should have. We gave you chances. I swallowed hard. Lorna, you were behind the threats? Behind those men at the thrift shop? She nodded once, almost casually. This isn't personal, Marceline. It was business. Until you made it personal. I felt a chill crawl up my spine. Why, Lorna? Why steal from those old people? Why hurt them? Her expression hardened. Hurt them? No. I was helping them. The center has been underfunded for years. Insurance cuts, government cuts, families abandoning their elders. Someone had to step in. Someone had to keep the doors open. By stealing from the residents? I asked, disgusted. She shrugged. Call it what you want. I call it survival. And when Mr. Rowan found out, well, she sighed, as if she were tired of explaining herself. He was old. He was confused. And he was going to ruin everything. We couldn't let that happen. My stomach twisted. And Clara? I whispered. What did she see? Lorna's smile faded. Too much. My breath caught. Where is she? I demanded, stepping forward before Tavian pulled me back. Alive? Dead? Tell me where she is, Lorna. Lorna tilted her head, studying me with an expression I couldn't read. You always were persistent, she said softly. That's what I always admired about you. But sometimes persistence becomes a problem. Her hand slipped into her coat. My heartbeat spiked. Tavian tensed beside me. Don't do anything stupid, he warned. Lorna laughed lightly. Stupid. Oh, Tavian. Sweet boy. You already did that for both of you when you opened that box. She pulled her hand out. Not a weapon. A phone. She tapped the screen and held it up. A live video feed appeared. A dim room. Concrete walls. A woman tied to a chair. Her head hung low, hair falling over her face, but I knew that posture. Clara. My hand flew to my mouth. A cry tore out of me. Oh, dear God. Clara. Lorna watched my reaction with quiet satisfaction. She's still alive, she said. But for how long depends on you. My knees felt weak. Tavian grabbed my shoulder to steady me. What do you want? Tavian demanded angrily. Lorna lowered the phone slowly. The box. The documents. Everything. I could feel the box's weight in my tote bag. Heavy. Dangerous. The reason Clara was suffering. The reason men were chasing us. The reason my son was being hunted. I looked at Tavian. His jaw was tight, his eyes burning with anger and fear all at once. Mama, don't give it to her, he whispered. But Clara, I said, voice shaking. We can't save Clara if we're dead, he whispered back. The woods suddenly felt too quiet, too still, like every tree was listening. Lorna stepped closer, now just a few feet away. Give me the box, Marceline. And this ends. You go home. Your son goes home. And Clara, well, she gets to breathe another day. Her voice was smooth as silk. And full of lies. I knew this woman too well. She wouldn't let us walk away. Even if she got the box, she'd make sure we stayed silent. Forever. Tavian leaned toward me, whispering so quietly only I could hear. Mama, stole her. Just for a minute. Why? I whispered. Because look behind her. I shifted my eyes carefully. A man stepped out of the trees behind Lorna. One of the same men from the shed. The one with the tattoo on his neck. He walked with a slow confidence, hands in his pockets. Lorna didn't see him. But I did. And he wasn't looking at us. He was looking at Lorna. The tattooed man spoke first. You don't take orders anymore, Lorna. Lorna spun around in shock. What are you doing here? She demanded. The man smirked. Cleaning up. Before she could answer, another voice came from deeper in the woods. Time's up, Lorna. The board decided you're a liability. My breath froze. They weren't here for us. They were here for her. Lorna took a step back, looking truly afraid for the first time. Wait. We had an agreement. I held up my end. The tattooed man shook his head slowly. You let the box get out. His eyes slid toward me. And you let her get too close. Lorna's voice turned desperate. No. Listen. I can fix this. I can. The man raised his hand. No more fixing, Lorna. He turned his head toward the shadows of the woods. Bring her in. 2 more men stepped out. Lorna backed away in panic. For the first time, she looked small. Weak. Human. No. Please. I can do better. I can fix it. Don't do this. The tattooed man didn't blink. You already did too much. I grabbed Tavian's arm. Baby, we need to go now. He nodded, eyes wide with realization. They're turning on each other, Mama. If we leave now, they won't notice us for a moment. Lorna screamed. A short, sharp sound that echoed through the trees. And in that terrifying moment, as her scream cut through the woods, Tavian pulled me toward the cabin hidden in the brush. Run. Mama. Go. We sprinted through the trees as Lorna's voice was drowned out by the men shouting. I stumbled, pain shooting up my ankle, but Tavian held me up. Behind us, the woods exploded with chaos. But we didn't stop. The cabin was just ahead. We reached the door. Tavian yanked it open. Inside was darkness. Stillness. A shadowy figure sat in the corner. A voice spoke. Tavian. You shouldn't have come back. I froze. Because I knew that voice too. The figure stood slowly, rising from the dusty wooden chair like he had been waiting hours, maybe days, for this very moment. A sliver of sunlight cut across the cabin floor, crawling higher and higher until it reached his face. And when it did, my breath left me. Pastor Reuben. My pastor for almost 15 years. The man who prayed over my mother's funeral. The man who visited me when I lost my job. The man who laid hands on Tavian the day he graduated high school and told him to walk in truth. The last person in the world I ever imagined would be standing in a dark cabin at the edge of the woods, waiting for my son and me like a trap. Pastor. I whispered, stepping back. What are you doing here? He lifted his hands gently, almost in a calming gesture. Marceline, child, breathe. Please. His voice was soft, familiar, the same tone he used when blessing newborns at church. But nothing felt holy here. Nothing felt safe. Tavian stepped in front of me again. I knew it, he muttered. I knew I recognized that voice in the shed that night. I blinked. The shed. My heart lurched. Pastor Reuben. You were there at the shed? The pastor didn't deny it. He simply sighed and lowered his eyes, like a man tired of carrying heavy stones. Yes, Marceline. I've been part of this longer than you know. My knees weakened. I held on to the wall. Why? I whispered. Why would you be part of something like this? You were supposed to protect our community. Protect our elders. He looked at me with a sorrow that felt too easy, too practiced. Protection was exactly what I was trying to do. I stared at him, unable to understand how stealing, hurting, threatening, hiding Clara, any of this, was protecting anyone. He stepped closer. Tavian tensed like he was ready to fight. Marceline, listen to me. The retirement center was drowning. People were losing their homes. The county was shutting down programs. I tried fundraising. I tried donations. I begged the city council. No one cared. He gestured with his hands. So I found another way. I shook my head, horrified. By stealing from the elderly? Pastor Reuben closed his eyes briefly. We were borrowing. At first. Just borrowing. Only what wouldn't be missed. And it would have been temporary. But people like Halford and Lorna, they got greedy. His voice cracked, a rehearsed pain, a practiced regret. I wanted to believe him. But Clara's bracelet in my pocket felt like hot metal. Tavian stepped forward, eyes blazing. So you're trying to say you were forced into this? You. A grown man, respected in the whole county? Pastor Reuben opened his mouth, hesitated, then answered. It got too big too fast. Too many people involved. Too many hands wanting money. Halford turned it into a business. A machine. And once you're in a machine like that, Tavian, you don't just walk away. He looked at me. I never meant for Clara to get hurt. Hurt. I snapped, my voice louder than I expected. She is tied up in some basement right now. She begged for help and instead you let those monsters take her. His shoulders sagged, but he didn't deny it. I am trying to fix it, Marceline. That's why I told them to bring her here. I froze. Bring her here. A chill shot down my arms. Where is she? I whispered. Pastor Reuben looked toward a door at the back of the cabin. Safe. For now. I moved her before the board sent their men. Moved her. My mind raced with fear and hope tangled together. Let me see her, I said. Now. He hesitated. Marceline. If you see her, you have to give me the box. I can make this all go away. You two can walk out of here without a scratch. The board will never bother you again. But only if I have that box. I felt the weight of the box in my tote bag again. Heavy. Thicker than wood. Heavier than paper. Heavy with danger. Mama, don't. Tavian whispered urgently. He's lying. They're all lying. Pastor Reuben's face tightened. Tavian, son, I watched you grow up. I baptized you myself. I would never hurt you. Tavian glared at him. You had men chasing us through the woods. I was trying to protect you. Pastor Reuben snapped. From who? Tavian shouted. From your own mess? The pastor's jaw tensed. You don't understand how far this goes. Then make me understand. I yelled. Make me understand why Lorna tried to kill us. Why you were meeting with thieves in the dark. Why my friend is tied up somewhere. Pastor Reuben closed his eyes a long moment. Then he spoke quietly. Because the person really behind all this isn't Lorna. My breath caught. What? He opened his eyes. It isn't Halford either. A cold dread crept through me. Who then? He stared at me so hard it felt like he was looking into my soul. Someone higher. Someone with power. Someone who used us all. Someone who wants that box destroyed so no one sees what's inside. My heart pounded. Then who? Tell me. Pastor Reuben swallowed. The real person behind everything is someone close to you, Marceline. The cabin fell silent. I felt every beat of my heart. Tavian stiffened. And Pastor Reuben whispered. It's someone in your own family. I grabbed the back of a chair to keep from falling. My family. Pastor Reuben stepped closer, voice low and steady. Yes. Someone you trusted. Someone who used you. Someone who never wanted you to find the truth. I shook my head violently. No. No. That's impossible. My family is small. It's just Tavian. And my voice trailed off. And who? Tavian took my hand. Mama, he's lying. He has to be lying. But Pastor Reuben shook his head slowly. Ask yourself, Marceline, who had access to the retirement center? Who had a reason to disappear money? Who had debts? Who made late-night visits you never questioned? Then he said a name that made the blood drain from my face. A name I hadn't heard in years. Your brother. I stumbled back so hard that Tavian had to catch me. My brother. But my brother left town a long time ago. My brother who stopped calling. My brother who showed up randomly last year. Broke. Desperate. Asking for money. Pastor Reuben nodded. He was the one who started everything. He was the one who brought the stolen documents to me. He was the one who recruited Lorna. And when Clara found out, he was the one who ordered her taken. No. 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 My head shook over and over. He's lying. He has to be lying. My chest tightened until breathing felt like trying to swallow stones. Behind Pastor Reuben, the back door of the cabin creaked. A shadow moved in the doorway. A tall shape. Broad shoulders. A voice I had not heard in over a year spoke. Sis, we need to talk. My brother stepped fully into the dim cabin light, and for a moment my mind refused to believe what my eyes were seeing. My big brother. My first friend in the world. The boy who used to carry me on his back after school. The man who disappeared from our lives, then came back worn, bitter, and broke. Now he stood there like a stranger. A stranger with guilt on his hands. A stranger with secrets in his eyes. A stranger tangled in something far darker than I ever imagined. Tavian moved in front of me again, his voice sharp and shaking. Don't come near her. My brother lifted his palm. I'm not here to hurt her, he said quietly. But his voice was different. Flat. Empty. Tired. I stared at him, my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my fingers. Tell me it isn't true, I whispered. Tell me you didn't help take Clara. Tell me you didn't steal from those residents. Tell me you didn't involve my son. He closed his eyes, exhaling slowly. Marcy, I never wanted you to find out like this. He used my childhood nickname. And that cut deeper than any knife. Pastor Reuben stepped to the side, watching us carefully, like a man waiting for his cue. My brother continued. I didn't start this to hurt people. I swear. I just needed money. I had debts. Real dangerous ones. And when Halford approached me, he made it sound easy. Stealing from the elderly? I snapped, tears rising. That sounded easy to you? He winced, but kept talking. Halford said the center was already losing money. He said what we took wouldn't be missed. He said the residents had no families checking on them. He said we'd be helping the center survive. And I believed him. I shook my head. You didn't just take money. You lied to me. You dragged my son into danger. You let Clara suffer. His voice cracked. I didn't know they'd grab her. I didn't order that. The board did. They thought she'd talk. They thought Tavian was helping her. They panicked. They tried to tie up loose ends. My stomach twisted. Loose ends? My friend is a loose end to you? He flinched again, his voice barely steady. I tried to stop it, Marcy. I tried to find her. That's why I came back to town. Not for money. For her. And for you. I knew things were spinning out of control. Tavian's voice was fierce. Then why are you here with him? He pointed at Pastor Reuben. Why weren't you helping us? My brother rubbed his tired eyes. Because I thought I could end it. Quietly. Without getting you too involved. I thought if I gave them what they wanted, the box, the documents, they'd leave you alone. But then Lorna panicked. The board turned on itself. And everything fell apart. I stepped closer, my voice low and full of hurt. Why didn't you come to me, Elijah? Why didn't you tell me? We could have figured something out. You didn't have to steal. You didn't have to lie. You didn't have to break everything. He swallowed hard, tears forming. Because you always believed in me, Marcy. And I didn't want you to see what I'd become. My breath hitched. Before I could answer, the front door of the cabin slammed open. The tattooed man from the woods stormed in, gun raised, eyes blazing. Enough talking. Pastor Reuben jumped. Wait. Listen. We can still handle this quietly. Quiet. The tattooed man growled. Quiet left when she ran through the woods with that box. His finger tightened on the trigger. Tavian pulled me behind him, shielding my body with his own. My brother stepped forward. Stop. I'll get you the box. Just leave them out of this. The tattooed man sneered. You're done. The board cut you loose. The only thing we need now is the box. And to get rid of every witness. He aimed the gun at me. Time slowed. My hands shook violently. Tavian grabbed my shoulders. Pastor Reuben shouted something. My brother took a step forward. But then, a loud crack split the air. Not a gunshot. Wood. Breaking. A figure burst through the back door like a storm crashing open the sky. Clara. Alive. Bruised. Weak. Barefoot. But alive. Her hair tangled. Her wrists red from rope. But her eyes were fire. You're not hurting anybody else, she rasped. The tattooed man spun toward her. That split second was all Tavian needed. He lunged. The gun fired. The sound was deafening. I screamed. My brother shouted, no. Pastor Reuben ducked. The tattooed man stumbled backward, Tavian hitting him hard. The gun skidded across the floor. Elijah grabbed me, dragging me behind an overturned table. Mama! Tavian yelled. Stay down. Everything became chaos. Footsteps. Shouts. A crash of wood. Clara swinging a broken board like a bat. Pastor Reuben grabbing the fallen gun and kicking it away from the tattooed man. My brother pulled me into a tight corner and shielded me with his body, breathing fast and shaky. Tavian wrestled the man to the ground, pinning his arms. The man fought back, snarling. Clara limped toward me, tears in her eyes. Marcy. I made it. I made it to you. I held her as tightly as my shaking arms allowed. Then the tattooed man screamed. This isn't over. The board won't stop. You think you're safe? You think you can run? We'll find all of you. Pastor Reuben stepped forward, jaw clenched, lifting the fallen gun. Not toward us, but toward the man on the floor. No, he said quietly. It ends right here. The tattooed man froze. Elijah pulled Tavian back, grabbing his shoulder. Reuben, don't. Pastor Reuben's voice broke. I'm done running. I'm done lying. And I'm done letting this evil grow. He lowered the gun but kept his voice firm. You're going to tell the police everything. Or I swear on every breath left in my body, you will not see sunlight again. The man's expression shifted. Fear. Real fear. The first honest thing I'd seen in his eyes. The room went silent except for heavy breathing. Dust floated through the air like tiny pieces of light. Clara sobbed softly against my shoulder. Tavian knelt in front of me, touching my cheek. Mama, are you hurt? I shook my head. No. But everything hurts. He hugged me, his body shaking with relief. My brother sank to his knees, covering his face. I'm sorry, Marcy. I'm so sorry. I looked at him. My brother. A broken man who had broken so many things. But also the man who shielded me in the chaos. The man who tried, far too late, to fix what he shattered. I reached for his hand. I don't know how to forgive you yet, I whispered. But you're still my brother. And you're going to face what you've done. He nodded once, tears spilling. I will. I swear. Pastor Reuben finally looked at me, shame carved into his face. Marceline, if you want to hate me, I won't blame you. I took a slow breath. I don't hate you, Reuben. But you're going to turn yourself in. And you're going to tell the truth. All of it. His shoulders sagged. I will. Clara wiped her eyes. We're all going to tell the truth. For the first time in days, the air didn't feel poisoned. It felt like hope. Small. Fragile. But real. Days later, the entire board was arrested. The retirement center was placed under emergency management. Clara recovered in the hospital. Pastor Reuben and my brother cooperated fully and faced their consequences. And Tavian, my son, my brave, stubborn son, was cleared of all suspicion. Life didn't go back to normal. Life built something new. Something stronger. Something honest. And as I sat on my porch weeks later, watching the sun sink low, I thought about everything we survived. Everything we fought through. Everything we learned. I heard something strange about my son. Didn't believe it. But I watched him anyway. And what I found wasn't a criminal. It was a hero. A man who risked everything to save lives. A man who stood by me when the world tried to break us. A man I was proud to call my son. Before this story ends, let me talk to you for a moment. If you've been with me through this whole journey, please take a second to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notification button so you won't miss any powerful stories coming next. And let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I want to see everyone who walks this road with me. Thank you for staying with me until the end.